What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Filsinger Games Character Spotlight with Mike and Broc.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Broc. And once again, we are joined by the founder of Filsinger Games, Mr. Tom Filsinger. Welcome back, Tom.
Great to be back. Hey, guys. Good to see you.
Same here. And tonight, we're going to do like a retrospective of Revolution 2096. We have some fan questions and things like that, and just want to get your thoughts on a few things and just pick your brain a little bit.
Yep. We'll go through the wrestlers one by one, and any anecdotes like last time, or things that may click when you see the pictures. Just chime in, and we'll see what we can.
Yeah, thank you, you guys. I really enjoy it. And let me preface with a couple of things so that I don't embarrass myself through this time. Let me start with first. I've been spending the whole day proofreading 2139, and that involves a lot of attention to detail because we're at the last stage. Every little thing on a game card, every death jump rating, every this, every that. And then reading the handbook to make sure continuity is correct. And you know how these handbooks have gotten, much. So my mind has been swimming in that. Second, my memory of things, which I've already said is not fantastic, it's at its worst in the middle game period. In other words, I'm still good at remembering set number one. I think everybody knows that one very well because it stood out. It's like an origin story,
Right.
And it starts to really start to fade or get mixed together around the time of this, around Revolution, and through about 2026. For some reason, when Black Death started in 21, 27, I don't know why. I remember that more vividly. I think I really liked the direction the game was going at that point, maybe because it got bigger and more cosmic, and so did simultaneously the Marvel universe got into the multiverse, just like GWF did. And that's all much more vivid to me. So I just want to preface, and I want your people to know, since people watch your show and they like it, I'm sure, that Mike sent me questions for this that I managed to misplace. So I'm not even as prepared as I could have been if I had read that in advance. So my apologies to everybody. And meanwhile, then let's go.
No worries at all. It's crunch time. You're inside a month.
And we have to remember that there's no 2139 spoilers.
Yes.
You won't be asked about that. Whatever you tell us off air, that's just between us.
We know everything.
Yeah, right. I said everything right. No, I haven't been. We've been very secretive. I know that. I'm hoping I don't have a bounty hunter moment. But one never knows. You know what? That was caught on video. I do have that. One of these days, I'm going to release those homemade Galacticon videos from the old days.
That's
where
fantastic.
we just take out the Galacticon parts from our family stuff and just release that. We've been talking about that and just haven't gotten around to it.
Nice. We won't steer you towards spoilers. Not on purpose, at least.
Not on purpose. Okay. Try to sneak it in. Yeah.
Broc will hold up a wrestler, and we can start with.
I'll do them in the order that we covered them on the show. So we'll start here with Splatter. There we go.
Okay, so we've got here. We're still on Larry Snelly art, isn't that correct?
Correct.
Right. I believe he put in the hearts. I didn't ask for that. I think he did that.
I think it adds so much to it, though. Like,
says
this guy's a little crazy.
Yeah. By that time, he was. Those might. I don't know at what stage he did this, but at some stage, those are all pencil and not inked. Because what he said to me was he was always worried that inks can change the pencils. and that scared him because he was like satisfied with pencils. So that's possibly in that category. Just
Oh,
throwing a
wow.
little tidbit in.
Some good trivia.
Splatter was an interesting character because he was kind of like the early one was like a fan favorite, and then when he got this big upgrade, he really caught on.
Hmm. Is that when was his club always named, or I think it was Arsenal, right?
Yeah,
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 meet.
you had named it at this point.
Yeah, he has
Oh, at
Meet
this
Arsenal on
point,
this
it
one.
wasn't there from the start then.
No,
I don't remember,
Uh-huh.
but it's definitely
Because,
on this card. Meet Arsenal is the name
well,
of it.
it's so emphasized here, it might have been named there. It's possible. And now we get a side look, which shows, the, I don't know, the profile shows the back of his head, the top of his head. It even looks more sinister to me.
I agree, like a slasher villain.
Yeah, right. And it must have been, yeah, it was, well, that slasher era was the 80s, so it was following that.
I
Well,
think that's an
yeah, and this,
outstanding haircut. I have the same one.
yeah, you should have worn the mask.
There you go. There's your Halloween costume. Then we have another interesting looking character. We have Enigma.
Yeah, yeah.
He's got several masks on his card. I want to focus. There we go, a little bit.
This was his first card, his manager card.
Mm.
And this is a question that I had thought of, and I'll bring it up now because this is the guy that made us think of it. How far in advance do you know a wrestler is going to get an update? Like when you created Enigma, did you already have, he's going to get an update in 3 years and another update in 6? Or do you just create a character and went, I don't like him, I'm going to get rid of him, or I really like this guy, he's going to get an update?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I don't remember in the case of Enigma. Sometimes I'll bring somebody in knowing they're going to get better, and that it's intentional that their best years are still ahead of them. There's somebody in the current set like that was introduced last year. And now with all these names running through my mind, I'm actually blanking on that name. But he was one of the new, I'm trying to be careful not to say things that interfere with today. He was somebody that was introduced as a member of the new vibe, the young guy.
Okay.
Nobody's up on top of the recent stuff then. I forgot his name now. He was feuding with Tharkus and was in Tharkus's race. Anyway, my point is that was designed to have another better card later. Kind of like when I introduced, and I forgot another name, the character that was introduced as an old man, and
Tauren.
Tauren. I knew that the idea there was that he was going to get younger. It's just a matter of how many years out you do that next card. And it makes me very impatient because people
Right.
were all like, who is this old guy? Not knowing why I was doing that. And you want to do it sooner rather than later, which accelerates as getting younger, but then you're kind of stuck with that. And so then occasionally I will have a character I don't like the way when I'm playing that it doesn't seem to fit in. The character really doesn't seem to have the personality I wish the character did. And I'll redo them after a couple years because I don't think the character's working very well as it is. So to answer your question, sometimes I plan it, sometimes I don't.
Okay.
That's kind
And
of
with
what we figured.
Enigma, I don't remember. I just don't remember in that case.
No, just a question because some guys would get a couple updates, and some guys people are like, "Oh, I can't wait for this Iron Man to get updated."
And then in his case, there never was one. Is that right?
No,
Yeah.
Isn't that? Yeah, that is. Sometimes. Now, by the way, I don't know if I'm speaking for Iron Man, but sometimes a card I think is just right the way it is, and I'm not eager to change it.
Yep.
So sometimes that happens too. And so that character, it's not that sometimes the character in my own mind is so right that he only winds up with one or two cards. Matador of M83, You know, didn't
Hmm.
really get many. I just thought he was really good the way he was. I was really glad when he was done for best of because we had a nice color version of him then.
Yeah, for sure. Makes sense too because he came in as a top guy, so it's not like he's going to
Well,
get any
that's another
worse
thing, right?
or better, really, because he's at the top of
Yeah.
his game as he came in. So makes sense to me. Up next, we have the Commander Sam manager card.
Mhm.
I think that's a really good piece of art there.
Yeah.
Little on the patriotic side.
Yeah.
That
Well,
That
yeah.
was his
suits it
gimmick.
though. That's what you expect from him.
Yeah. When we already had U.S. mail at this point, didn't we?
U.S. Patriot.
Yes.
Oh, when didn't where did U.S. mail come in then?
This is why we need Jeff.
So that came later. U.S. Patriot. Are those two? That's not two different people, then, is it?
No.
Okay.
Oh yeah. They're two different people. U.S. Patriot and U.S. Mail, I think, are two different people, aren't they?
I can't remember. Do you, Brock?
I think they're different people.
Yeah.
We're gonna get slaughtered in the comments.
We might get 3 or 4
yeah, this is the
comments. People
blind
going,
leading the
"Hey,
blind.
Yeah, we're in trouble.
Yeah, you know what else? What can I say? You know, I mean,
I'm looking it up
on
right now just for
Commander Sam, you know, manager card. I think that works very nicely in that way.
U.S. Mail was a different guy. He debuted in 2112.
Huh. Okay.
And then U.S. Patriot was Adam Blast, who debuted in 2088.
Okay. Right. And then we continued those themes in the modern era too, with I believe it's Tank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he came out a couple years ago.
yeah, I really enjoyed Commander Sam as a manager, almost more than a wrestler.
Hmm.
Because as a wrestler, he didn't do much for me, but as a manager, he was like, the number 2 manager. And then I changed his gimmick later on to become Corporate Sam.
Corporate Sam. Well, okay, that
Yeah,
I could see that.
yeah.
Sell out Sam.
Tell you know, I will say this. I'll throw in a 2139 teaser. You know, Sam is a manager now, looking like that goes back to 96. So that means in 39, that's 43 years later. Whew, we're starting to, our timeline's slowing down just like the Marvel universe, really slowing down. At least we can use the excuse it's the future and people age slower.
And
But
medicine's improved.
well, yeah, for that reason, for that reason.
Sam's
But
in his Solaris
but
years.
yeah, but Sam will be, you know, heavily involved in story in
Nice.
2139.
Synthetic Sam. He's a cyborg.
Yeah, yeah.
Up next, we have Amazonia
Oh, that
with
was
wrestling stats.
is this her first card or you know it isn't. But that's a real nice one. That was a real nice drawing there by Larry.
Mm-hmm.
This is her first with a stat. Before she was just had the distractor rating.
Oh,
Now she's a seriously kick-ass wrestler.
good, good. And she should be. I mean, that was an important character.
Yep.
Is this the one we colorized?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it was a good drawing, sure. Okay, yeah. You know, giving a loner like Wolf a partner softened him a little bit. Like, if you might have, I don't know how much you know about comic book history, but when Batman was first introduced, he was alone
Mm-hmm.
and he was very dark and he would even shoot people. It was a different era. And of course, it wasn't violent. If a person shot somebody in a 1941 comic book, it didn't look gory or bloody. You know, it was just comic booky.
Right.
But he was, if you look at it realistically, he was shooting people and he was dark. Bringing in Robin, a younger boy, softened his character. And Amazonia showed a softer side to Wolf than we might have seen otherwise, kind of humanizing that character a little bit.
I like it.
Well, that's a good thought. I hadn't thought of it that way.
Mm.
Then we go to Viper.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. This was a pencil set. Um, Yeah, I like the way he's coming at the cameras, and so is the snake. And we were at this stage. Are the masked assassins still an active group?
Yes,
Yes.
they are.
Yeah, so that I really enjoyed pulling the masked people together a few sets earlier to create this scenario. And Viper, you know, that's I always enjoyed that character.
Now, did you mean for him to look like Serpentor, or was that just a Larry Sally thing?
To look like who?
Serpentor.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, okay.
What?
So the answer is no.
Well, it's not coming from me if it does.
Yeah, he was a GI Joe character.
Oh,
Next we have Stalker, the Nomad of Neptune.
yeah.
This is a character.
Another 2139 spoiler. It has been a long time since the Neptunian spacecrafters have ever been mentioned, I believe.
Nice.
So all I will say is that they will be mentioned again. That's all I'm going to say and leave it at that.
That's awesome.
This is a character, when people bring it up and they look at his back, they were like, I didn't realize how good he was. And they don't understand why they didn't even push them himself.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually really good.
Yeah, we both like remembered that when we did our show about him. Like, this guy should have done a lot better for us, but we can't figure out why he didn't. And we both kind of came up with it was the stink of Beast Rider.
Yeah, maybe. I like the action drawing and movement. Boy, if we had backgrounds and color, what you could really do with a character like this. I mean, but at this stage, who was he feuding with?
Cannibals group.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, that's good. Okay.
Yeah, so
He was another character. You didn't keep him around long, but he was highly underrated. We'll put it at that.
Yeah, every once in a while when we do the show, there's a bunch of characters that come up where like, I really want to restart my Fed just so I can use Stalker more. And this is one of those guys for me because I'm like, he looks really cool and he's got a really, tough card too. So I feel like Stalker deserved more of a push in my Fed at least. Then we go to the man himself, Thantos. His updated card.
Yeah.
This is when
he was teaming with Star Warrior. This is when he was teaming with Star Warrior.
It hadn't happened yet, but this is the card that I believe he used whenever he teamed with Star Warrior.
Yeah, they went back to the Gamekeepers.
Okay.
It's still a tough card, but it's not a heavyweight champion material.
Right. So this is his decline.
Yeah.
Yep. I will admit I got a little sad to see Thantos start to slide a little bit, but I guess it had to happen.
Yeah.
He's my all-time favorite character, as he is a lot of people, I think.
When you decline somebody, like when you downgrade Thantos, how much thought do you have, like to put him behind? Do you do the old, okay, is he going to decline, or am I just going to write? Is he just going to ride off into the sunset like Matador, where you just don't touch him?
It depends on the person. Some people, I think, should not have declines. And now I have to keep my mouth shut again.
I promise we're not doing this on purpose.
No. It's only because, like I just told you, when you're as deeply involved in the editing process like I am right now, that's all that's on your mind. And so it reminds me of that issue, though, that some characters I'll use this in the broadest sense and don't read into this particularly, but we don't do weaker declining gladiators. I don't know how many times we've ever done that. We might, if we've done it rarely, because their race simply would not do that.
Yeah, they wouldn't let
Other
somebody
char-
stick around.
other guys like Thantos and maybe some others, like even Wolf, just want to be involved so much that they're willing to go through a decline because they want to still be involved or maybe make their career stats even better. For example, Jim Brown, famously in football, retired while he was literally at the top of his game.
Hmm.
Other people like Willie Mays played until they were pretty bad because they just didn't want to stop. And the GWF reflects some of that attitude too, with its different people.
That makes sense to me for a guy like Santos. Like he would want to get one more tag team run in, so maybe get some tag team
Well,
recognition
look at
before.
Ric Flair.
Yeah,
Flair kept
he's
going.
he's talking about wrestling again.
And I don't know if you can think of any wrestlers that stopped when they were on top. Most of them like to go on,
Hmm.
because, well, for them, it's to make a living.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, it makes sense. I get that for sure. Up next, we have another update. Mesmer, Master of the Black Arts.
yeah, I don't know what to say, other than superficial things like I like what Larry did there with the drawing and
Whoa, what happened there? Okay, there we go.
Master
Yeah.
of the Black Arts. I've always had trouble personally with magic in science fiction. Um, and I've never been a big fan of people like Doctor Strange or characters like that because I never understood where their powers start and where they end. Because I think, well, if you're magic, why don't you just make your villain disappear and then it's all over? So I never understood that. And so what happens is you wind up using magic to meet whatever storyline issues you want.
Hmm.
And that's their powers, is whatever the storyline.
I
Yeah,
like that.
that's one thing I thought about Magic. I'm on the same lines. I'm not a big fan of it. It's just made for easy storytelling.
That's
The,
right.
the magical MacGuffin that
Here's a
everybody's going for.
spell.
Yeah.
No, that's right. Like I said, if Doctor Strange's magic, then how can you ever really beat him? Or
Hmm.
they've got a character called the Molecule Man who can rearrange any molecules they want. Well, then they're unbeatable.
Hmm.
Um, so Mesmer and other people who came into the game later, who had magic abilities, like Mike just said, they just simply fulfill a need to promote a storyline or not.
Yeah, I don't view them as actual magic. I view them as kind of like they're the David Blaines. It's just
Mhm.
sleight of hand.
Yeah,
They can't really open portals to different worlds and
mhm. Yeah, well, that's one way to deal with it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've wandered into that territory. Not, I don't know if you'd call it magic. Arthur C. Clarke or somebody else like that, Ray Bradbury, somebody, science fiction writer, said something to the effect of magic is science that is not yet understood.
Hmm.
Um, I can see that. Um, I understand that point of view, even though it still leaves the door open for anything to be possible. But I do think that some things that, like, for example, if you took somebody from the 1800s, brought them into the present, and first of all, they'd freak out immediately. You have a remote control in their hand, and that turns on this television. They would think it's magic,
Right.
but it's science, and that's where these things can blur.
It's a good explanation. Up next, Janus,
Mm.
the Overman.
Oh, that haircut.
I was going to ask you, how did he end up with that haircut?
He lost the
Just
bet.
with now that, yeah. That's just simply what Larry drew. I don't think I asked for that specific haircut. I approved it clearly, but it's looking back at it, it stands out a bit. I like everything else about it, and and we were trying to make something of Janus. We were trying to really make something of this character, and he is one of the better statted guys,
Oh
isn't he?
yeah.
Yeah, +4 finisher, which is pretty
In fact, he
uncommon.
might be a forgotten star. Would that be fair to say?
He could
Yeah.
because he was paired up with Matador and Chaos.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, Definitely some shadows to be in right there.
I don't think he did much in my promotion, which is the way sometimes I remember characters, is how did they do for me? And I don't think he did a lot.
He became a major player in the CPC years.
Oh, okay. So maybe, okay. And that starts like, this is 96. CPC starts what, 8 years or 7 or 8 years after this?
Yeah, I believe so. A little ways away.
I think it went all the way to 2107 even, because it was a four-parter.
Hmm.
And okay, yeah. So his career continued even after I wasn't writing it myself.
And then finally, our gladiator from the set,
Oh well, yeah. Now I remember this better. Um,
Vengeance.
okay, now this I've got, and I wish I had prepared by reading this stuff in advance. If you have me on ever again, I will look at the questions and I will also look more into it because I'll be done with what I'm doing now. But this, I didn't want to repeat myself with a gladiator. It's easy to do it, and I know people like what the gladiator mold is: big, strong, warlike. But you've got to give them a twist where possible to make them somehow different from each other. Well, Vengeance was clearly that. Vengeance is influenced, the way I remember it, by things like Hannibal Lecter, you
Hmm.
know, that type of person. And I liked that he brought a different element, a madman element to the gladiators.
For
Now,
sure. We just covered him last week, and that was the main thing we took away from just looking at his moves.
I do have three questions from this character from a longtime listener but first time writer, a person named goes by the name of Pete Beck.
Who?
Never heard of
Oh,
him.
Pete Beck. I know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's nice to always get new people.
Yeah. So Pete gave us a little question, some trivia. He said, with the addition of the add move one for vengeance, how long were
Mhm.
you thinking about this mechanic? Because this is the first time it appeared.
Oh, that is so good to hear and have something to chat about. Um, and by the way, I think it must have just occurred to me in this set. I'm sure I wasn't holding on to it. And this character is the first one to have the add one.
Yep.
Hmm.
This character what was the move?
The eye cleaver,
Yeah.
Ooh, where is it on level what?
level 2 at number 6.
Hmm. That's one of the few times a new mechanic has actually come into the game and stayed that I can think of. Maybe you can think of other, but I thought that was it turned out to be, it stood the test of time, the add one maneuver. And it was definitely created because this character suggested it. That move suggested it. And so I'm really glad that you guys brought that up because I'd been wondering in my own mind lately when that ad one first started. So now I know it was 96.
Yep. And
We have
then
Pete to thank for that.
Thank you, Pete.
and then he also came up with the questions that all revolve, and you're almost answering them. And is how did you come up with the add one gimmick? Do you
Right.
remember?
No, it's one of those things that suggests itself in your own mind where you're not trying to think of it, it just comes to you. And I think it must have been this character, this kind of a move, and then it just sort of enters your mind. This is the way to do it. And I don't know how soon was he the only one with an add one move in this set?
Yep.
Yep. He was the only one, and that's the third question was vengeance your first choice for the add one? Because there's other characters you could have easily put it on, like Splatter could have got it.
Yeah. Well, it first came to me with Vengeance, let's put it that way. And I'm curious if there was an add one in 97.
I could look that up real quick because I have those cards nearby, I believe.
I wonder how fast it became the norm to have some add one moves.
I'll look at that while you guys are talking.
Because now when I'm writing a card, you've got add one moves and you don't want to overdo them. and yet they become a very, in other words, they work in lieu of, let's say, a powerful finisher. Somebody might just have several add one moves instead of that.
They're like
The
grovel.
different,
Nobody in 2097 have it. So
interesting. I'll be curious for the trivia of, and this would have been a good Galacticon trivia. When the next add one came.
Yeah, I think it's good if it's used sparingly because it's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, it is. It is. And depends on where you put it. If you put it on, level 3 offense, number 5, before a finisher, that's one thing. But if you put it on level 2 offense, you could hit it a lot. And then it really is.
Yeah.
There may have even been an add one on a level 1 offense 6. It must have been sometime throughout the history of the game.
I'm not sure on that, but then again, I don't know all the cards, but I'm sure there are card buffs out there that would know it.
And I'm sure I would have thought to do it at some point. So
if not 2139.
There you go.
Everybody has it.
Yeah. Vengeance was now you're talking about a character who's much more clear in my mind, because he wound up not only being in out of the different mold of a gladiator, but he wound up then playing a key role in the Civil War and later years.
For sure.
It had some pivotal characters, like with Janus and Vengeance and Splatter.
Yeah.
The downgraded Thanatos card.
It has some of the most memorable art, I think, too.
Yeah. I think, let's see, Larry went from 94, 95, 96, and 97. I think he had those 4. 98 was Gustovich.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with Gustovich.
What's that?
So can't go wrong with that Gustovich art.
Oh my, yeah, that was fill-in art. That was a fill-in set. One of the only ones that's when I was, that's when it was harder to find artists because there was no internet.
Yeah.
And Gustovich filled in nicely. But he wasn't really into it. And so I liked the fact that he was a professional because he had some professional experience. Snelly didn't, Snelly was like a young guy with a lot of talent. And, but Gustovich had already been there, but he was busy. He didn't really, he wanted me to tell him everything. And he just wanted to get it done. Snelly was into it. And then Brian came along and then he was into it. And really everybody ever since has been into it. We're very lucky with Daryl because he's so good and he's professional and he's busy, but he loves doing Champions of the Galaxy. And so we're very fortunate to have a guy like him who loves comics and wrestling. That's what it comes down to.
Makes a difference when they have a passion for it, for sure.
Oh, no doubt. Daryl is just like any of the artists that really get into it. They don't want to be done until I'm satisfied. They don't want to just say, are we finished yet? I mean, I've got other things to do. That's never the way Daryl looks at it. And I'm very thankful for that attitude. Anyway, Larry was the same way. Larry would send me faxes of ideas. Now, faxes, as you know, were lousy as far as quality. But that's all we had if you wanted to do it fast. And he kept on churning stuff like that out. I can't remember if any of it came into the set you just showed me because a lot of those characters.
The green artwork set, the Birthday Bash, that was a lot of secondary.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That was some of the stuff that that's a good point. We wound up using it somehow, some way.
Yeah, like the King Lear with the 2 swords.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, that was good.
King. That's a great card.
That really is. Yeah. And Chuck would do the same thing. Chuck had more free time in the early days, and he would just draw a bunch of stuff, send it to me, and some of it wound up being used.
Have you ever thought of asking Larry to do like a special one-shot
Ah,
character?
no, I haven't. We've been out of touch literally since he departed, and I never really got to know him. I think we're Facebook friends,
Yeah,
maybe,
you are,
but
because I looked him up and it said you have mutual friends.
and it was Larry.
Yeah.
And so we haven't been in touch though, and I don't think he does this kind of art anymore. But I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule it out.
It was just he was such an instant hit, like because
Yeah,
his
he
art
was.
was a complete, almost. Oh, I'm not going to say 180, but it was very different from what Chuck Carter was.
That's a good point. Larry was sort of like a bridge from Chuck's. We all love it, great but caricature-ish
Yep.
style
Mhm.
to the modern uh, comic book-ish style, which the game then wound up becoming for good. But he was a good bridge to that. I expected Larry to wind up in comic books or graphic novels. His career took a different direction from that.
Yep.
Yeah, because his poses were all very dynamic, which would be perfect for comic art.
Yeah. Oh, I thought he was just a sensational. I guess I haven't kept up with his career to know what he did with his art talent. Do you guys know?
No, I'm going to look into that though, see if I can find anything.
Sometimes he goes by Lawrence Snelly, not just Larry. And like I said, I thought for sure that Champions of the Galaxy was going to be a springboard for him to do something in the graphic novels or something. And so I don't know what he did instead of that.
Something for us to look into for sure.
Well, Larry Snelly's on Instagram.
Is he posting artwork? I know Chuck got heavily into video games.
Another artist I lost track of was Jeremy Sue, who was another young, talented guy. And I believe he lived in Canada, by the way.
He lived in Toronto.
Okay, right. But that's another one I never really got to know. And all I could say is I think some years after we worked together, he might have contacted me once to ask about something. And I can't remember what came of it. But that's another one of the people I don't even know what he looks like. So that was kind of mysterious. He was a good worker, if you want to put it in terms of wrestling. He really was. He did good art and he worked hard at it.
He's done a lot of work. I'm looking it up now, and it's funny because you type in his name and Champions of the Galaxy pops up.
Is that right? We're on the internet?
Yep.
Nice.
His first set pops up along with some other things.
That's cool.
We're doing a Where Are They Now segment.
Yeah, we didn't know we were going down this road.
Because Hannibal King's another one that I lost touch with, but he was doing magic cards. I know
And so did Larry. Larry
that-
did magic cards.
That's
So yeah, it's
interesting.
it is.
We just found a new episode format for later down the road.
Yeah,
Thanks.
right. Because after that, we settled into Daryl.
Yep.
Yeah, and he's
With Werner too, Werner also, but Daryl on, the sets that I write.
Mm-hmm.
And Daryl looks like he's for life. So, and God, I sure hope so, because going away from him would be tough for me at this stage, because it's been at least 15 years now.
Yeah, he's had a long run. Yeah,
and it never gets old. Nobody's ever unhappy with him.
no.
So, luckily, he seems as into it as he's ever been. So we're in good shape right now.
Very cool. And then we might as well mention Chuck Carter went on to be a big deal in the video game industry.
No doubt about that.
So yeah, a lot of talented people have worked on this game and spun out.
Yeah, now Chuck and I stay in touch, here and there. So that's something that, never went away. And I really enjoyed that we did two extra characters. If you remember, we mimicked the black and white as if
Yes.
they were in the first one. And I loved it because they really did look and feel to me like characters that really would have been
Two
used.
more characters that are on that list of people that make me want to restart.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you never know what the future has in store, but that's
There's,
funny.
al there's always alternate realities.
There sure are. That has been established.
For sure.
But we should wrap this up.
Yeah. Thanks again, Tom. We really appreciate you doing this, especially as busy as you are right now. You're within a month of releasing a new set, so
I'd be happy to do it again sometime because the next time I will be able to have time in my head clear to prepare for it.
perfect.
It'll
This
be
was great too.
2097.
2097.
Yeah. No, then like I said, then I'll look at the questions in advance and I'll be able to do that.
Hey, you answered them perfectly. So
Oh,
they,
wow.
they were mainly about the add one move. So
Yeah.
that was the one that everyone wanted to hear about. So that's pretty cool because I think your answer is great. Vengeance needed to be different, and that's what made them different. So
You know what? I'd like our fans, if they could answer this sometime on the board or elsewhere. I hope I notice it. I'd like to know when the next ad one appeared after this first one.
yeah, so leave that in the comments below, or post it. We'll post the thing on the message boards as well to get people to chime in on that. I'm sure somebody will answer it immediately.
or we could just start looking 29.
Yeah, I mean, I only have 2097 in
99.
front of me, so yeah, it won't take me long to find it, but I just don't have Beyond 2097 here with me, so. But yeah,
Okay,
thanks
guys. Yeah. Thank you for having me on again. I enjoy chatting about these things. I apologize. I can't do better sometimes, but if you enjoy what I bring, I enjoy
100%.
talking.
We do.
I enjoy talking with you. So
Always a pleasure.
And I love those off-air 2139 spoilers.
Oh yeah, there were little things. They might be little things. But why not? Let's have fun. And it's nice to know there's continuity over all these years. That's to me very important.
Which has to be hard. I mean, this is 50 plus years of game. So that's got to be difficult. So
it's important to create a believable universe. You're not going to do it all perfectly. The comic books don't either, but you want to try as hard as you can. That's the idea.
For sure. Well, thanks again. Can we No, I don't think pre-orders are up yet for 2139.
I don't think so.
Galacticon tickets are available. You
Yeah.
guys can go purchase those.
And I did see the new picture of Kenji.
That looks awesome, by the way. I'm digging the art for this upcoming set.
Yeah.
When I knew I needed to redo Kenji for the reasons that will become apparent later, I never liked the second one as much, and that's my own fault. I liked the first one a lot, and I thought, let's just take the helmet off totally, and let's really get a look at this guy, because we're going to learn a little bit more about him, too.
He's a badass.
It's a nice picture.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else you'd like to plug, or just
No, other than to tell people we're working super hard as always, and I can't wait to play with what is being created now. I always feel that way, but I'm glad when I feel that way, because then I feel like I've written something even I care about, and that I want to play.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And by the time this episode drops, we'll just be a couple weeks away. So
2 weeks.
Yeah, it's coming fast. So
What is
the new set?
Oh, well,
this episode will drop in 2 weeks.
oh, I see. Then right.
So,
then after that, yeah.
It'll be here before you know it. So good stuff. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I'm sure you've got a lot going on right now for sure. So we really do appreciate you being here. It means a lot.
Thank you for asking, and I always enjoy it. So don't be afraid to ask.
Excellent. We will have you back for sure. We have about 42 odd sets left to go through. So
Yeah, yeah. I'll be sitting here in a nursing home, and then at least I'll have excuse for not remembering.
Hey, being 30 plus years ago, I think is a legitimate enough excuse and all that you need. So good stuff. Thanks again.
Yeah, take care.
All right. Thanks again, Mr. Filsinger, for hanging out with us. Always a pleasure to pick your brain. And while you're here, if you have not yet done so, please click that red subscribe button. I think it's right in this general area.
125.
Yeah, we can do it. We can do it. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. And while you're here, please scroll on down to the description below where you'll find all of our friends who make Filsinger Games related content here on the internet, including the official Filsinger Games podcast Roll Up, the Legends team's Uncharted Territory, Dizzy Dice from Lee Longpre, the Filsinger Games fan cast from Grant. Here on YouTube, you also find Grant's channel Solo Promoter, Dave Little's Heartland Championship Wrestling, and After Further Review. Over on Twitch, you'll see Matthew Butcher's Tagger Strike Painting, myself. I run a bootleg fed every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Check that out. And if you have any Filsinger Games related content you would like us to share, please drop us a line and we'd be happy to include it below. Yep. So until next time, have a great night.
And fried crab potato chips.
There you go. Fried crab. Wonder if those are available in Maryland.
I don't know. Lay's makes them. Do you get Lay's?
We do have Lay's, but not with the cool Asian characters like that.
Just something different I got for Father's Day.
There you go. Well, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Yes.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.